Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a conversation with Daryl. And today I am very happy to have some folks from the upper part of the valley here from Grace Cottage Hospital. Immediately on my right, we have Andrea Seaton, Vice President of Planning and Development. And then we have Dr. Timothy Schaefer, Family Practice up there. And then we have Mike Ingersoll. He's an ER RN, which we know how important those registered nurses are in that ER. In my opinion, some of our unsung heroes. Well, actually, all nurses are my unsung heroes, to be honest with you. I do work at a hospital, just to let you know, and that's kind of why I feel the way I do. I might be just a little bit tilted towards you. But you guys, I'm so happy you're here. You have a beautiful, beautiful little hospital up there. And for me, I'm more into the smaller is better, is the way I always feel. My first question would be, how long has Grace Cottage been around? How did it start? I mean, I know it's been there for a long, long time and has a great reputation, but maybe you can give us a little history.
Well, we celebrated our 60th anniversary 2 years ago, Daryl. So 1949 was when Dr. Otis opened Grace Cottage. Dr. Carlos Otis had been in practice in Townsend since 1938, and he developed quite a wide following, and he got very tired of delivering babies in the back seat of the car on the way to Brattleboro Hospital. So he decided it's time to open a little hospital up here, and the apocryphal story is that 900 people came to the opening on August 7th, 1949. But that was before...
They must have came out of the hills.
The woodwork. It was before computers, TV. They had their radio to listen to. But anyway, so that's how we got started.
Yeah, well, that's very good, and we thank Dr. Otis for that. I know when I first came to Brattleboro in 1979, what a reputation that man had. He did. And I've even had... Well, we'll get to that. What would I go to Grace Cottage? Because, you know, being a small hospital, people aren't sure what you have there and everything. What would you go to Grace Cottage for?
Okay. Well, we draw our patients really from many streams. A major one is our practices. We have a very active clinic, and so many of our patients there we will admit to Grace Cottage Hospital. Then there's the summer people, the winter people, the come by chance because the kid has an earache or they break something or they're in some distress and they come through Mike's ER and we meet them there. And then people also get referred to us to rehabilitate. It's a very good place to rehabilitate after injury, after stroke, after surgery. And so we have a special designation and a superb rehab department. So people come there. No, that's something we've been building for, many years. I'd say 20 years probably of what we call level 1 high-level rehab care, and it just gets better every year. It's really superb.
Yeah, excellent.
There's no question we can't do everything. We do not do surgery. We used to deliver babies, and then that phased out. As
you don't do that no more?
Nah.
Oh, my, man, I tell you, we had a whole bunch of them born over at Grace Cottage.
We
did. When you do your parade there, and they all come.
Yeah, and I took part in that, but finally...
You passed down the stork to your daughter, though, right?
Well, we'll get to the fair later. We'll get to the fair later, yeah. But finally, I mean... There's sort of a falling birth rate. There are fewer kids being born. Us docs who were doing it were just feeling it was too much wear and tear between minding the ER, our practices, and then being on call to deliver babies. It was just too much wear and tear. And we, you know, it was an era that had sort of come to an end. But there's just a lot of good basic care where someone, say an elderly person has a pneumonia, and they just need to be in a safe, familiar caring place where they get wonderful nursing care and good solid medical care, and they can be seen through, and then if it takes them longer to get back on their feet, they can sort of join our rehab team and spend that extra time, and they just sort of get, you know, loved and cuddled. I think the only way only a small hospital can do it.
That's why I like a small hospital. You know, they're your neighbors and stuff for a lot of you folks. You know, you probably know a lot of the people coming through.
Yeah.
Mike, you're the ER nurse.
One of them, not the.
Well, I'm sure there's more than one.
Right.
But is your ER okay? I'm a maintenance guy at Brattleboro Memorial Hospital. Okay, so I don't, you know, but would somebody want to bypass that ER, which I would never suggest anybody do, though, because you guys couldn't take care of something? I mean, or what would you say to that?
Once
I mean,
again, that would be more of a medical doctor question to answer, but bypassing the ER, you have to use your own judgment. if you think you're having a critical incident, if you're having a heart attack, please stop in. Or a stroke or major trauma, we can stabilize. If we can't complete what needs to be done, we can stabilize. Call a rescue or a helicopter if we're dark, if we have to. Stabilizing, we're a critical access hospital. So when it needs to be, when you don't have time to make it to Brattleboro, you need to go to us.
No.
We stabilize, we're critical access, we're federally mandated to be there. So
Do it, and I don't know who's going to be able to answer this one, but if you're federally mandated to be there, what is your designation for that hospital out there, and how's the money follow you guys? Because I know we're having a hard time right now.
well, we're critical access, and that's the federal designation.
The federal government has deemed that Grace Cottage, access to Grace Cottage is critical to the health of the community that we
good.
serve. And we're in what's considered a medically underserved area, which is
that
ironic
helps you.
because we have so many doctors, but it helps tremendously. The federal government gives us 101% reimbursement on allowable Medicare costs, and it's very eye-glazing to get into hospital finances.
you're telling
So I
me.
don't want to go into too
No,
much
we
depth
don't.
on
I
that.
just was
but
curious.
We
kinda-
became the first critical access hospital in Vermont in 1999, and now 8 of Vermont's 14 hospitals are called critical access hospitals. You can't have any more than 25 beds if you're a critical access hospital. We actually have 19 and always have had.
You can't have any more than that to be, okay.
If you're a critical
All right,
access.
then we aren't one.
Yeah.
No,
Because
no.
back in the 90s, so many, across the whole nation, so many communities were losing their little hospitals, and basically the healthcare system was breaking down. If the little hospital went, then they couldn't hold doctors. If they couldn't hold doctors, there'd be whole counties without them, and it was just, I mean, it really threatened to break the back of
Especially the
primary
family
care
practice
and small hospital care. So this was a program to help help really pay the expenses for the Medicare and the Medicaid patients in those smaller hospitals. And
How long have you been up there, Doc?
27 years this
Yeah,
month.
your
Yeah.
name is so familiar. That's
27
why
years.
I thought I
Yeah.
knew you, but
Yeah.
you weren't
Yeah.
who I thought you were.
Okay.
Listen, we have, how many employees are there?
180.
You got 180 employees now? Wow, that has grown. Hey, this is one of the questions I have, is, especially for you, since you work the night round, how do you guys do your food there? You know, back a few years ago, you ate very well on the staff, I'll tell you. Is that still happening?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
it's a
Richard
great,
Davis worked there for years, who's
Sure.
a good friend of mine. He said, Daryl, you wouldn't believe the food.
Oh, yeah.
He
Oh,
says,
it's
we eat beautiful here.
gotten eat better since then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
You know, they really take pride.
Yeah.
And patients can't believe it. They say,
Uh,
they give us wonderful food, and then they come in and say, anything you want, we'll make it for you. Just anything you want, we'll make it special. We'll
That's
find
what my
it.
sister-in-law said.
Yeah,
She
and,
lived up there and went there. That was the hospital where she always went. and
No,
they loved it.
that department just really does
Yeah.
us proud.
Yeah,
They're-
good for them.
We
they're
have
wonderful.
people
There you
coming
go.
in from the community to have lunch, just to have lunch.
Oh, you can
They
do
don't
that
have
there
a
too?
family member in there. They'll just come in just to have lunch.
Yeah,
People
that's good,
schedule
though.
lab tests right before lunch, coincidentally.
Oh,
Isn't
yeah.
that something? Well, I tell you, I'm glad I asked the question then, because
Yeah, stop by.
And the other department is housekeeping. People walk in and they say, this place does not smell like any hospital I've ever been in. It smells wonderful.
That's right.
well, that's
And-
cool in its
and
own right.
Our housekeeping department received a 91% in the statewide and nationwide survey, and in the statewide, that was the highest.
Wow,
Our
good,
housekeeping.
good for them too, because I know how hard housekeeping. That is a area where they work.
When you talk about unsung
You're
heroes.
darn right. I mean, and they are too, because I watch what they do at the BMH, and I'm telling you, they do their jobs and beyond.
And the wonderful thing is, though, 180 people, but you really know most of them. You know, and you rub elbows all the time, and there's kind of no false, pride or divisions there. Everybody
Sounds
kinda
like it's doing really well,
says,
because I
hey,
remember it was a bumpy
pitch
road
in,
there.
help here, and people
right.
people lend a hand. It's a nice feeling there.
Yeah, well, that's good, because like I said, it did seem like there were some issues a few years ago, not with the medical, it was just that, worried about, is it going to be able to stay? And I think the community rallied around it, because that's when you realize how important it is. The Valley kind of said, whoa, Don't make us go to that big city down there.
In 1990, we had a To Be or Not to Be campaign.
Was it that long ago?
It was that long ago, Daryl. Over
Wow.
$1 million was raised
Yep.
through bottle drives and bake sales and so on. And that's
Well,
when the
thank you
community
everybody for
really
that, because
stepped
that,
up to the plate.
and it's
And
really,
Since then, the tradition, well, Dr. Otis started the tradition of fundraising at Grace Cottage, but the community is so generous to us, and we're in the middle of a capital campaign. We've raised $457,000 for our medical imaging suite, and we just did the groundbreaking ceremony on Friday. Dr. Tim Schaefer put the golden shovel in the ground and lifted the dirt up high in the air, and today the excavator came in to start the real groundbreaking
well,
work.
that'll be useful.
Yes.
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions, but you just hit it. Now, is the Fair Day part of the fundraising, or is that just like, let's all get together and here we go? I mean, that's huge too.
Right.
And that's been going on for a long, long time.
It's
Does that have
definitely
the parade
part
too?
of the, well, it's part of both traditions. I mean, it's definitely a celebration of Grace Cottage Hospital and the community and the volunteers that come out and the people who come from all over to visit and so
News
forth.
stations are up there. I mean, it's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
but finally, I mean, so much is generously donated and auctioned and so forth that it is a very, very good fundraising source
When is it this year?
every year.
August 6th.
August 6th, it's coming up then.
Our
Yeah.
volunteer auxiliary runs the fair for us, and they have over 200 volunteers who show up to help with the
That's
fair.
amazing.
And everything is donated, almost everything, and therefore we raise about $60,000 after expenses from the fair, which
Wow.
is given right to the hospital every year to fund the major needs of Grace Cottage Hospital.
Well, that's a terrific fundraiser.
And great things
60,000.
happened there. 27 years ago, I came. It was just really Dr. Backus and me covering the place, and Dr. Otis was old. He was
Yeah.
still there, but sort of an eminence grise. And so I was kind of staggering from being on call all the time. And on my first fair day, I was introduced to a young woman who was in town for the summer. She was writing a book, and we sort of looked at each other, and then we met later, and I wheedled her phone number out of her. And, well, now we're about to celebrate 25 years of marriage and 3 children, and so some magic can happen at the fair.
Yeah.
And it's actually she and a friend who came up with the idea then of dressing me up as a giant stork to lead the baby parade. And so that's how that tradition
I
got
haven't heard
started.
that story. That's a
Yeah.
good story.
Yeah.
Did you do the stork? You were it?
Year after year, but then finally, 2 years ago, it was getting kind of hot, and I had this excuse, leaping around out there, and my youngest daughter, who's definitely built tall and lanky like me, and is an altogether good sport, and actually there's a wonderful picture from about 10 years or so before in Vermont Life of she and a friend and me sort of dancing around on the green, me in the stork suit. But she took over as a stork, so 2 years ago I appeared holding hands with the stork, and that got a lot of
Good. New
twisted
stork.
heads. Yeah, look at this. And so she makes a very lively, marvelous, sprightly stork, and I can waltz with the stork now. And, yeah, keep my
So
cool
the
a little
fair
bit.
is Saturday, August 6th, and free parking, free admission, and 22 bargain booths. So I have
Oh, wow.
to put that
22
pitch
bargain
in.
booth.
Go
well,
all the way.
They'll be promoting it like crazy on the local radio
Yes.
stations and everything, and now you heard it right here on BCTV. Plan that day, go up. It's a beautiful setting, and you'll have a lot of fun. Now, let's see here. We got the imaging that you did. Okay. You have a pharmacy up there now? Or actually, you've had
We've
it for a
had
while.
it for a while. We've had
And
it
it's
since
for-
1996.
And it is for anybody?
Open to the public. Anyone can go there. The pharmacists will greet you by name, and so will the people who work at the counter when you walk in. And if they don't have something, they can get it. And the prices are very competitive. And it's open Monday through Friday, 8 till 6 o'clock, 8:30 till 6 o'clock, and then Saturday from 9 till 2. So
That's got to be huge too. I mean, because there's no other pharmacy up there, right? I mean, so that's got to be, that saves a lot of folks from driving down. And when did you start that?
1996.
Yep, that's good.
you
That's
opened
good.
it,
And let's see, we talked a little bit about the Community Wellness Center. Let's just touch on that a little bit more. That's the Community Wellness Center. So I take it, do you have certain things that happen there?
Yoga, Reiki, strong bones, ballroom
Reiki? They do
dancing,
Reiki
belly
too?
dancing, yes,
Ballroom
Reiki too.
dancing?
Ballroom dancing, yeah, that's taught by Ray Warren occasionally. And belly dancing is a lot of fun. And
They
yes,
did have belly dancing in the kitchen, but
Yeah.
they moved it.
My
Yeah.
daughter did belly dancing for years, and I tell you, it was unbelievable. And she was a track nut, and she was in shape. And she said, "My goodness, Dad, this belly dancing's killing me." So she got the right muscles in tune, you know, because it was.
Got the
but
rhythm, huh?
and she was very good at it, and I was very proud to watch her do that stuff. It was unbelievable, really was. She was good. Let's see. Grace Cottage collaborates now with BMH somewhat, and you do a little bit with the Brattleboro Retreat in many ways. What is, how's this partnership holding up? I mean, what, you know, we're all in it.
Well, we have a long tradition of sharing patients with Brattleboro Hospital. I mean, as soon as I arrived, I sort of, you know, was told, this is what we can do, this is what we can't, this is where you get help. You know, these are the surgeons, you know, this is who you call, you know, and so we're really always turning to the staff at Brattleboro for help of all sorts, and they're wonderful and supportive, and their emergency room backs us up, and you know, for something that doesn't need a Dartmouth level, you know, hospitalization intervention, they're our backup, and bless them for being there.
Excellent.
And in turn, we receive many, say, post-operative patients from there who need to recuperate, who again,
Closer to home.
closer to home, or simply take advantage of our great rehab department and,
Really?
and nursing staff and food and sort of cozy setting. And again, you get someone who's older, who's been through all the harrowing, you know, ordeal of surgery or a stroke or a sudden illness, or you know, whatever's happened to them. It's a great place to sort of be put back together again and kind of made whole. And I think we do a very, very good job of that. So I think it's a reciprocal relationship that way.
Mike, one of the things that I've noticed, I've worked at Brattleboro Memorial Hospital for 25 years. Like I said, I'm the maintenance guy there, but you still see a lot. It's still a small hospital. And I work nights, so it's small. And I help wherever help is needed. And one of the things that I see now a lot, and one of the things that I don't exactly like doing so much, is we've had a lot of mental health issues. I mean, it's risen. I can't even, in the last 5 years, it's unbelievable. And one of the things that I have to do, because I'm one of the only men sometimes at night, is I have to end up going there and hanging out and watching them. What are you guys doing? Because that's got to be, if it's affecting our hospital, it's got to be, you got to be seeing it.
Well, I don't work nights, so I can't say what.
Well,
what
even
happened on
days, I
nights,
mean.
but we just collaborated with the retreat. We have a psychiatrist that works up there now, Mario Hassaj.
Yes.
So he works at the retreat and with us. We also have a direct number to the retreat if there's a crisis, mental health crisis. We can isolate the patient if needed. We have plenty of staff 24 hours a day to protect the patient. So it happens. We have very good communication with psychiatric. We've had a psychiatrist on board for years. So it happens. So far, everything's happened well, as far as I know. So psychiatric issues are dealt with just like any other hospital.
So if somebody comes in and says they're suicidal, you got to put a one-on-one on them right off. You guys got to do that too, huh? And you have enough staff to do that, huh?
We find staff.
Well, yeah, they're like we do.
Always.
It's got to be tough though, because see, that's one of my things is now, you know, we keep trying to reel in the costs of health care, and it seems to me local hospitals tend to be a dumping ground, okay? I mean, I love the retreat,
Right.
but they have different criteria or something than we have, and we get everybody.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they don't even get into the retreat. And now with the changes they've had on, even with if you're drunk, we can't put them in a holding cell anymore. They come to the hospital to detox.
Okay.
It's been unbelievable. So I was just wondering if you're seeing a lot more of that and what it's doing for your resources. And do you have HCRS available up there?
Yes, we do. Yes,
Okay.
we do. And just to be fair, I don't think we've seen quite the avalanche that Brattleboro Hospital
Well, we
has.
get a lot of it from
I stay in
upstairs.
close
Oh,
touch
excuse
with the ER, and I go to some of their ER committee meetings, and so my hat's off to those men and women there who I think that they have more of those crises than we do. So we certainly do. I mean, we sort of, you name it, eventually it'll happen up at Grace Cottage. It may be more of a steady sprinkle instead of a downpour, but we get it, as Mike says, and we adapt and we cope with it. But I think mercifully, because we're not such a, if you will, urban setting as Brattleboro, we don't have that concentration of just of psychiatric and drug-related
be a
crises.
major issue, and
Yeah.
from what I've
Certainly
seen as a maintenance
alcoholism.
guy. I mean, I'm not even in that field,
yeah,
but
I mean,
it's
right.
alcohol is a big part of it.
Right,
You know what
right,
else we're seeing a lot of nowadays? Is prescription drug abuse. You know, prescribed drug abuse. We're getting a lot more of that these days than I recall.
Yep.
Well, let's see. We have, one of the things I'd like to, and we kind of hit on it, is, and we'll hit on it again, is what does make Grace Cottage so darn unique. I mean, really, you know, you just drive up in there and you got the little gazebo over here, you know, and you got to go by it, but then there's the hospital, and over the years, I remember when it's just a little thing. I mean, it's growing, really, in the last, I don't know, 20 years. So what is it that makes it so darn unique, other than being a just small town good feel?
There's a couple of things. If you're from out of town and you're not from here, and you come in, you have an injured child or something, one of the great things about the ER is we have the Linus Project, which is blankets that a local group of people make in the Townsend area, quilts. And so a child comes in, they're nervous. Mary Meyer gives us stuffed toys to give the children. We give them a stuffed toy, a quilt, and you would not believe how quickly that child turns around. The parents turn around. They're not afraid. They're in Podunkville compared to being in Connecticut, but they come in, the doctor's there, one of the nurses is there, they give them a blanket. Things change from being scared to being, okay, it's not so bad. And not that we're only capable of doing warmy, fuzzy things. We have great doctors, great nurses. We have all the capabilities except for surgery. So we have the imaging techniques and all of that. But we have that touch of give them a blanket, give them a popsicle, which I keep the freezer full of popsicles. It helps.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that. But the town pitches in. Mary Meyer donates the stuffed toys. There's a group of women that make the quilts. So that's one of the great things about it there, you know.
How long have you been there, Mike?
6.5 years.
Yeah. And Andrea?
Almost 15 years.
Yeah. So it's one of them places where you go. It's, you know,
You
you're
stay.
going to be there for a while.
We
Or
have
hopefully
many
anyway.
employees
That's
who've been
good.
there for 30, 40
Oh, yeah,
years, and
yeah.
quite a few have been over 25.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm working, you know, of course it's a big hospital, we got a lot of turnover, but, you know, I look at a lot of us that have been there for 20, 25 years where we've all been together for a long, long time. And, you know, when we think back, we were all only going to be there for a little while, and, you know, this is a job for the next job, and here we all are still sitting there. It's unbelievable. Listen, we're getting ready to stop our time now. What other events are coming up that you'd like to let people know about?
Well, we just finished up our golf benefit, which raised $16,000 after expenses for Grace Cottage. We had a silent auction, and the benefit was at Tater Hill Golf Club, which is a magnificent golf course, and we really had a wonderful time. So now we're gearing up for Tour de Grace, which is a 19-mile, mostly downhill bike ride from Stratton to Grace Cottage. We started it as an awareness raiser for the Stratton community to let people know that there was a community right close by. What's doing that for us now is GPS. People have GPS, they type in hospital, they come to Grace Cottage, which has really been very helpful. But we love the bike ride. It's a wonderful, wonderful event, and brings a lot of people to Grace Cottage from the Stratton community. We take the back road down Pikes Falls Road. And
Which is
that's
beautiful.
It's July 24th, and it's a Sunday this year, and it's part of Stratton Mountains celebrating the local community event. They have the Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure in Manchester on Saturday, and then Tour de Grace on Sunday. And then we have Fair Day, and then we have our annual poker walk in the fall
Wow, you
to
guys
get
are
the
really,
community
you're
moving.
really, really busy.
We're very, very busy.
We
There are
have a
events
5K
going
in
on.
May
5K.
of every year. It's the second year that we did it this year.
139 people signed up for the
Yeah.
5K, and 111. Actually, it was a dismal morning. We've had a lot of rain this spring. So,
Well, I can tell you right now, the events you got coming up, don't worry.
oh, good.
Okay,
Thank
you heard that from me.
Okay,
All
great.
right, and
We'll
if
hold
that
you
doesn't
to-
happen, you just call me.
We'll hold you
All
to
right,
it,
because
Daryl.
I'm telling you, from here on in, it's optimist. Boom, boom, it's going to be good from here on in. I'm telling you, Doc.
I
anything
think
you'd like
in
to say?
60 years, the fair day's never been rained out. Every year we say, boy, there's the ghost of Carlos Otis at it again up there pulling strings, because
Yeah.
it can threaten, but then it always clears, and it's a
Yeah, it
great
does
day.
seem like it is a good day, and it's something that a lot of people, especially from that area, because I do have a couple of sister-in-laws that live up there, and their children were born at Grace Cottage Hospital. So, that's a big day up there. The kids go through, the parents go through, and you got 3-4 generations of kids that were born in that little hospital. I mean, and it's one of them little gold mines that we have, and that's one of the things I like about Vermont, really, is I've never been a bigger is better type of person. I think that, small, in tune to everybody around you, what's happening is a little bit better,
We recently had a branding exercise done by some marketing people from Connecticut who had moved up to
Well, I
Vermont
thought you
full
were going to tell
time.
me branding.
No, people think about that, but no, marketing. And the focus groups that we spoke to in the community and among employees equated Grace Cottage to a big, warm, homemade sweater, or a
wow.
teddy bear, or roast chicken with mashed potatoes and
Daddy
gravy.
must have had that for dinner that day.
It was a fun exercise, and it really showed us that the community and the employees of Grace Cottage are in sync about what they expect the hospital to provide, and nobody there has the attitude of, it's not my job. That's something that you
Oh,
never
boy,
hear.
that's
True.
awesome. Well, when you are in a small community hospital like that, I guess you do got to kind of help each other out a little bit more. We're a little bigger now, and we do have sometimes, every now and then, that ain't my job, and that really drives me nuts. Because if it ain't your job, it ends up being mine. That's the only reason. I'm the guy that does all the jobs. It's nobody's job.
Right.
But hey, that's the way it goes. I happen to love my job. I don't mind going to work, So, and it sounds like neither do you.
And I don't know if you know our maintenance crew, but they're incredible. They will do anything and everything.
Good
that
for
you
them.
ask
I love
of
the
them.
maintenance
Yeah.
guys. That's, as a matter of fact, when I was with the state in the legislature, anytime we'd go to visit places, they'd bring you on the golden tour, but I'd always say, is it okay if I run into, I want to find a maintenance guy. Because I was maintenance, and that's kind of what I want to do. Well, listen, you guys.
And in that line, I just want to say, come by and see the gardens. They are just gorgeous.
Oh, I'm glad
I
you
mean,
brought that up, because I was going to say,
the volunteers
you can bring
and the
people
maintenance
out
people and
they
yeah.
can walk the grounds. I mean,
That's
it
right.
is pretty. I'm glad you
That's
brought
right.
that up, because
That's right.
that was something I did want to bring up
Yep.
is when they're recovering and if they can get out and move around. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
You get out in the air. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Vermont.
Well, I was thinking the maintenance guys out there after work watering all the flowers
Yeah.
and running the sprinklers,
Yeah.
and there's just a lot, and the volunteers coming in, and it's really
Well,
really
you're bigger than
touching.
I thought you are, and it's growing, and it sounds like it's doing well. 180 some odd employees. That's good. Well, listen, you guys, thanks an awful lot for spending a half hour with us and talking a little bit about the gold mine you got up there in Grace Cottage. And I hope that lets folks here know what Grace Cottage is about. We do show up in that area a little bit, so if you're watching and you happen to go into Grace Cottage, say hi to Mike and the Doc and Andrea, will you? And tell them you saw them right here on BCTV.
Thank you, Daryl.
And then Fair Day again is August 6th.
Saturday, August 6th.
Let's try and make it out to Fair Day. So again, Mike, thank you. Doc, thank you. And Andrea, thank you.
Thanks, Daryl.
For Daryl Pillsbury, this is another edition of A Conversation with me and others, and we hope you enjoyed it. We hope you got a lot of good information here. I want to thank BCTV, and I got to thank Joe, who makes it all happen. And without you folks watching, I wouldn't be here doing this, so thank you for watching. We'll see you next time right here on BCTV.